Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful, 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 I'm so grateful. Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful, 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 I'm so grateful. Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful, 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 so grateful, so I'm grateful. Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all.
I'm so grateful this morning. Gratitude before us, behind us, gratitude all around us. Welcome this morning, this Sunday before Thanksgiving, as we join together. I am delighted today to have Richard Schulman here with us, and then we have in the back supporting us, we have Donna and Lowell and Tia. So we all send our love to each and every one of you that are joining today. Let's begin with a time of prayer together. As we close our eyes and turn our awareness within, we just take this opportunity to fully be here now. There is a space, a recognition within us that is never apart from source, from home base. There is a dimension of our being that always knows that it is as the wave in the ocean. It is an expression of all that is. Today we open to what it means to live from that awareness and how that informs our capacity of gratitude. So we give thanks for this time together. We open our heart and our mind that we may be blessed for the purpose of being an instrument of blessing. So for this time together, we are most grateful. We give thanks in the name and in the nature of all that is holy God, and so it is. Amen. So, I was thinking this week, it's beginning to look a lot like, and then I said, pandemic holiday season. It's beginning to look like a very unusual holiday season. And this week, as we experience Thanksgiving, which is traditionally a time of much travel, much gathering, much sharing, and celebrating, hopefully it will look different, because as the coronavirus numbers really rise, then we rise in our capacity to respond in a way that keeps us and keeps others safe and grounded in the truth that all is well, and so we do our part. And so today, in the midst of all of that, we're going to talk about gratitude. That, I asked the question, is gratitude a reactionary response? Is gratitude a transformational practice? Is gratitude a causative energy? Is it all of these things? Well, that's what we're going to explore today, but before we jump in, we're going to jump back in time when we were here in Mass with our band and Cat Williams as she shares a song of gratitude. Enjoy.
I am grateful remember who I am.
I remember who I am. I love that song. And I remember when we were gathering and celebrating together, and we'll do that again. But you know, we're also learning that we can certainly celebrate from wherever we are. Thank you, Richard, and thank you to our team here today. So, you know, there's that song, How Deep Is Your Love? Maybe the question for today is, how deep is your gratitude? And I am inviting you and me to consider the different expressions of gratitude, or maybe we could say the different levels of awareness in gratitude, and how gratitude it can be a reactionary response. Gratitude is a conscious conditioner. Gratitude is a consciousness conductor. And thereby, gratitude is a causative energy. And when we really begin to get that, we understand some of the scriptures and the things that have been said about gratitude that may not necessarily make sense otherwise. And talking about gratitude is the wrap-up of our fall series. We've been looking at 8 pillars of joy from the Book of Joy with His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the Archbishop Desmond Tutu. And this week we wrap up in very timely fashion with gratitude. So when I was thinking about gratitude, I'm reminded of a familiar story that I enjoy. It's a story of a little boy who was at home, and it was the tradition of that family to say the prayers at night. And so the little boy was saying his prayers, and mom had just had a new baby. So this little boy had a brand new baby sister. And mom said, well, when you say your prayers, be sure to give thanks for your new baby sister. And so the little boy went through his list of, thank you, God, for mama and daddy and grandmama and daddy and all the people in the world, and thank you for my new baby sister. But, he said, that is not what I asked for. I asked for a puppy. Please check your records. And I like that story because, sometimes, we're all taught to say thank you. I remember as a child, and I'm sure many of you remember, and probably taught our children and grandchildren, to, when someone perhaps gave them something and you would say, what are you supposed to say? And the child would say, thank you. And I remember that. We learned to say thank you in response, that it was the thing that you were supposed to do as an acknowledgement. It was a reciprocal exchange. What are you supposed to do? Thank you. But an interesting thing sometimes happens with those things that we're supposed to do, is it can really get enmeshed with that feeling of suppose or duty or obligation. And as such, we could possibly be missing the greater blessing. That thank you can feel rote or forced or insincere. Gratitude can feel conditional, like it's in response to something good that happened, or it's in response to, boy, that bullet we dodged. It can be a reactionary emotion. And that's what's called transactional gratitude. It may be a thoughtful gesture. It may be what we've been trained and conditioned to do. And it certainly can be sincere, and hopefully is, but it also can be highly conditional. It can be very fleeting, and it can also be unfulfilling, because transactional gratitude is in response as a result of something. But there's another level of gratitude that I could call transformational gratitude, that is causative. It's a remembrance. Because with the response of gratitude, the rose will fade, the conditions will change, The moment will pass, and we may find ourselves now looking for that next thing or that next person that will help generate. We may be looking for some object that will spark our gratitude. But there's a deeper state of awareness. There's a transformational gratitude that precedes and permeates all conditions. And it's not only a something good happened or something bad didn't happen kind of gratitude. It's the gratitude that was being pointed to in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and 18 when it says, "In all things give thanks." Now that's highly misquoted, and the world can turn on a preposition. In all things give thanks. It does not say for all things give thanks. Why would we give thanks for the coronavirus? Why would we give thanks for war, corruption, violence, hatred? No, I can't give thanks for those things, but I absolutely can give thanks in the midst of those things, knowing that those things are not the end all, be all. That even in the midst of war, corruption, violence, hatred, a pandemic, even in the midst of those things, there is a power and a presence that is greater than any condition. There is something within us that is being called forth to respond. There is a good and a goodness that can come through in the midst of any condition. And so it's not gratitude for anything and everything, but it's gratitude from an awareness of your intimate connection and innate oneness with the divine and the divine flow of life. There's a real shift when we begin to engage this level of causative gratitude. Today we're going to call it sourceful gratitude. You know, we use the word thankful a lot, and it's a great word, but I want to introduce the word sourceful gratitude. That sourceful gratitude is an invitation to really experience ourself and our life as a living demonstration, an intimate connection in and an expression of all that is, our oneness with the creative and the divine flow of life. And this kind of sourceful gratitude keeps us aligned with the potentiality and the possibilities of our soul and of our spirit, so that no matter what is happening here, that there is a power and a presence and a potentiality that can be called forth. And so we begin to shift, and rather than reacting to all of life, rather than constantly reacting to whatever comes up throughout the day, and you may want to ask yourself sometime, whatever is before me, am I reacting to this? Or am I being centered in the I am presence, the causative presence? Am I being a source and realize that whatever is being called forth is being called forth through me? So we begin to cultivate and sustain that kind of gratefulness as an approach to life. Then anytime there's an outer force that would have us to believe things have to be this way or have to be that way, we realize that's not true. Now, that doesn't dismiss the fact that we need to be diligent in doing our work. We need to be doing all that we can to get our hands dirty and moving our feet, so to speak, to bring about a better world. But it's not an either or, it's a both and. It's like looking at the puzzle and seeing all the pieces and the whole picture. It's being able to be grateful from a place of connectedness and a place of power and presence and potentiality in the midst of what may be being called forth from you. That's what I believe Jesus as a master teacher did. He gave thanks often before something was experienced. He did that publicly to demonstrate to people. And he would often lift things up, recognizing the source from which all blessings flow. That's why Meister Eckhart, I believe, said, if the only prayer we ever say is thank you, that would suffice. And so we could, I believe, say that gratitude is the strongest causative energy in our life. And that's what I'm asking you to think about this week. What above gratitude, is there anything above gratitude that is the greatest causative energy in your life? When we think about the things that we tend to be thankful for, those things can come and go, they change. And if our joy, this book of joy, if our joy is attached, and if our gratitude is attached to things being a certain way, we'll never be able to sustain it. There's a story of a man, kind of a joke really, of a man who was in the park. He'd taken a walk and then he sat down on a bench and was looking out over a pond, and he heard, "Psst, psst, can you help me? Psst." And he looked around and he saw a little frog, and the frog was saying, "Psst, can you help me? I was a princess, but a wicked witch came through and cursed me, and now I've been turned into a frog. And mister, if you would pick me up and if you would just kiss me, I'll be a beautiful princess and I will be ever grateful and thankful to you. Please." And the man picked up the frog and put it in his pocket and started walking real quickly. And the frog said, "Did you not hear me? If you'll kiss me, I'll turn into a princess and I'll be ever thankful and I'll help you." And the man took the frog out and said, "Yeah, I hear you, but at this time in my life, I would much rather have a talking frog than a princess." That it's a bad joke that makes a good point. And the point is that the things that we want and the things for which we are grateful will come and go. They'll change. And so when we begin to realize that, we realize that, okay, so if gratitude transcends the comings and the goings, then how does this operate in our life? Surface gratitude can't be sustained by conditions, or not surface gratitude, but genuine gratitude cannot be restrained by anything, and it doesn't require conditions to sustain it. Sourceful gratitude is gratitude from an awareness. And so we want to break this down a little bit so it begins to come together, because it's a kind of a complex idea that we're perhaps introducing. The first thing we want to talk about when we're talking about gratitude is, I've said that it's a consciousness conditioner. And therefore, one of the first things that we can do is to look up and to lift up. Jesus knew the key to power was acknowledging the availability of power. And that's why he often would look up, and it's not that heaven is up there or that God is personified up there, but it's meaning an elevated point of view, an elevated state of consciousness, that we look up beyond any illusion, beyond any appearance, beyond whatever may be in front of us. We look up with the intention of beginning to make that connection with the source of our being. That thanksgiving is an important state of consciousness. It keeps you aware of the divine flow of life. It's a level of consciousness that opens us to the divine flow. And you may not feel like you have something to be thankful for, but you always have something to be thankful from. There is a writing by Myrtle Fillmore. Charles and Myrtle Fillmore were the co-founders of Unity. And many of you probably know the story that they had 3 children, and Myrtle was a mother and was diagnosed with tuberculosis. Now, this was in the late 1800s, and that was a death sentence. She was very sick. The doctor had told her that she just had months to live. And of course, she did not want to die. She was a mother with 3 children, but she had believed herself to be a sick person. And what happened was she heard someone say, "You're a child of God, and therefore you do not inherit sickness." And that thought, that truth rang true with her, because she had thought of herself as something else. And she began to lift up her awareness, and to, rather than see the condition, it doesn't mean she didn't deal with it. It doesn't mean she wasn't present to it. It doesn't mean she didn't do things to try to help. It's not an either or, it's a both and. But in the midst of that, she also began to look up and claim, "I am a child of God, a child of the universe. I am an expression of all that is." She would later write in what is known as her healing letters. She was completely healed and lived many, many years to grow older in life. She wrote later, "The light of God revealed to us," speaking of she and her husband, "the light of God revealed to us, and the thought came to me first that life was of God, that we were inseparably one with the source, and that we inherited from the divine and perfect source. I began to claim my birthright and act as if I believed myself as a child of God, as one with God. Filled with the life, the one life, the life of God, I gained and others saw me. There was something new in me. We began to prosper a little bit at a time. Our health continued to improve." You see, she began to look up and to begin to focus on the fact, I inherited my life from the source. And I can give thanks from this place. I give thanks from the awareness that my life is an expression of the one life. I give thanks from the awareness that the world doesn't give peace, the world doesn't give love, the world doesn't give beauty. I give thanks from the awareness that these are states of consciousness that flow through me, and that I can never be disconnected from these. And so we begin by cultivating that level of consciousness, cultivating that awareness by looking up and lifting up. The second thing we begin to do, if there's a consciousness conditioner, but to begin to realize that consciousness is also a conductor. And so we begin to align our life, our being. We begin to align our potentiality with our source, with the divine flow of life. We don't limit what's possible to whatever we see around us or before us. We don't limit what's possible to what has happened before. We don't limit what's possible to what we can think of in our own thoughts. But we begin to see our potentiality as an unlimited dimension of our spiritual being. And it doesn't mean you have to know how something's going to happen, but you begin to know yourself as this limitless potentiality and to align yourself with that. And you can just feel the sense of gratitude that begins to flow from aligning yourself with that truth and with that potentiality. A true story that, to me, illustrates this beautifully comes from Dr. Michael Beckwith. Many of you know Michael. He is the founder of the Agape Center in California. He's a beautiful New Thought speaker and leader. And Michael told a story when he was out at Unity Village that just really struck with me. He said that his Agape church, they were planning a cruise. And it was in the fall when they started to announce this cruise, and the cruise was going to be, it was a spiritual cruise with different spiritual speakers and singers, and the cruise was going to take place in the spring. So it was 8 months away when they first announced it. And he said the first Sunday he announced it, a woman in his congregation came up to him and asked for a scholarship. And she said, "Dr. Michael, I don't have enough money, but I really want to go on that cruise." And Michael Beckwith looked at her and said, "You mean you don't have the money to pay for it at the moment?" She said, "Correct. I don't make enough money to afford it." And he looked at her and he said, "You mean you don't have the money to pay for it at the moment?" And she said, "Yes, Dr. Michael, that's what I'm saying. That's my situation. I don't make or have enough money to afford it, but I really want to go." And he looked at her again and said, "You mean you don't have the means for it at the moment, and you're claiming that 8 months from now, you still won't have enough." He said, "Why would you claim this as your future? Why not claim a different future? Why not plan for a different future?" He said, "If I gave you a scholarship, I'd be buying into and reinforcing your story of not enough, and that's just the way it is. And that goes against everything that I stand for." He said, "What I will do is help you heal that error in thinking, and I'll help you create a different reality." I think she was probably a little dumbfounded and looking at him, but he said, "Are you willing to meet with one of our prayer practitioners, a Science of Mind prayer practitioner, once a month for the next 8 months, to heal that way of a thinking, to allow yourself to generate the ideas and the beliefs that will provide for your needs and your desires, not just for this cruise, so that you don't feel limited in the way you're living?" She said, I would love to do that. So she began to work with a practitioner And before the 8 months were complete, one day she went into the Agape Center before church started. She went to the bookstore, which is where you would purchase your tickets for that cruise. And when she went up, she actually had enough money to buy 2 tickets. And what she said was she bought the 2 tickets, she kept one for herself, and she gave one back. And the lady said, I want this to be an anonymous surprise. The next person that comes up to buy a ticket, please give this free ticket to them. I want to pay it forward. My life has changed so much. And to attune her to realize if this capability is present, then it's present for me. And she was inspired with some ideas and was able to do some things which allowed her to generate the income that she wanted. Gratitude is when we start paying attention for this creativity. I give thanks for the creativity that is available. Even though I may feel blocked right now, I give thanks for the creativity that is not bound by situation. I give thanks for love that is not limited by condition. See, as we begin to give thanks for those qualities, we begin to open ourselves. Richard, would you give me that song? Gratitude is a conscious conditioner. It attunes us. And then it becomes a consciousness conductor where we begin to recognize and so know that this power to be a part of our being, that it begins to flow through us. And then it becomes a true causative energy. That's why Jesus said, give thanks before, not as a result, not just after. And not as a surface, I'll give thanks and cross my fingers and hope like magic it appears. No. It's much deeper than that. It's being attuned to that which is not bound by limit. I give thanks for this life that flows through me. I give thanks for the knowledge that there is a wisdom that is available. There's an intuition. I give thanks for knowing that when there is a need, there is always an opportunity for the need to be met, that the spirit may be expressed. Final story. This comes from Eric Butterworth. Eric Butterworth was a Unity minister, writer. He is my favorite Unity writer. And Eric was a minister he had a church at Radio City Music Hall in New York, huge congregations. And I used to listen to his cassette tapes when I was in seminary because he spoke to me, and I never forgot the story he told about his mother. And so I went back and I tried to transcribe it, and I want to share it with you. Eric Butterworth said, my mother was a great soul. Great because she was able to face up to a very difficult life. I had a father who was beloved, but terribly irresponsible. He was a gambler, and unfortunately, he wasn't a very good one. So many times I can remember through the years, our father would get up to his ears in debt. He'd mortgage the house right out from under us and leave mother and 4 children with no resources. I emphasize no resources. Not a penny in our pocket, not a penny in the bank, nowhere to go, no food in the cupboard. You understand what a penniless experience is. He said he did. He said, my mother experienced this often, and I remember one occasion in particular where she would gather us together, and she would always say of any need, I give thanks for abundance. I give thanks for healing energy. I give thanks for the divine power and the divine flow of life that knows no lack, that knows no limitation. He said she would gather them, the 4 children, around and give thanks for divine order, for abundance, for right and perfect outcome, for protection. And he said he was never afraid really as a child because she carried such realization and connectedness to this life force. He told one memorable experience was on a Saturday afternoon. The Butterworth family, 4 children and mom, were all working around a house. We were painting, gardening, cleaning up. It was a lovely house. In a very exclusive neighborhood. I have to emphasize that because it was probably an upper class neighborhood. Beautiful house we were in. No one knew the Butterworths were unusually industrious. Certainly, no one would have thought that we were working in the yard because we had nothing else to do. The fact was, that was one of those occasions where Father had gone off and left the family destitute. My mom had to go out and find somewhere for us to stay, and she, through a synchronistic encounter, made a deal with a landlord. A house that needed repair, that was on the market for rent, but they weren't able to rent it. My mother said if he would rent it to us free for a few months, that we would fix it up if he would provide the supplies, and so the deal was made. So we were in the house, and we'd been working in the yard all day long. In the afternoon, around supper time, we began to congregate as children are wont to do around the kitchen in the house, and we noticed nothing was going on. Mother called us in and explained that there was nothing in the cupboard, there was nothing to eat. She said, "Join with me in giving thanks." I don't think any of us children were ever concerned because Mother had such a way of pulling through these experiences. She had set the table, she laid out the best linens and silver, which were remnants of a better day. And eventually it became mealtime, but there was nothing there. We sat around holding hands, and Mother said grace. I do remember it was a little longer that day. And the prayer was interrupted with a knock on the door. It was a maid from a garden party that was going on at the house next door. She said her employer had asked her to come over and see if we would accept some of the many leftovers they had had from their garden party. They had seen us working in the yard and thought we may be hungry and not yet had time to prepare dinner. We graciously said yes, we would be very happy to accept. Very soon the table was laden with silver bowls and tureens, warm and sumptuous food, a lavish feast of beautiful things, even dessert and hors d'oeuvres, everything. It was a happy day at the Butterworths. It's only in retrospect that I look on the experience in awe, because Mom did those things all the time. She was always in tune with the divine flow. Eric Butterworth would go on to become a minister and a great writer. He wrote in his book, Spiritual Economics, "Your thanksgiving is more than a response to what is happening around you or to you. It is a celebration of truth, which becomes a causative assurance of the continuity of blessing leading to prosperity in you." You see, gratitude doesn't ask, what can I get? Gratitude asks, what can flow through me? This week, I want to invite you to look at works of art and to think about the creative inspiration that flowed through the artist. And do you know that that inspiration is available to flow through you? To focus on love everywhere you see it, and to realize that love is just as available for you. To focus on beauty and abundance as these states of being, and to really begin to realize and give thanks that those states of being are your divine inheritance. It is through those things from which we give thanks. So this love that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This love that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This love that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. I invite you to close your eyes if it's comfortable for you to do so. There is one power, there is one presence, there is one life. It is your life, it is my life, and it is the perfect life. It is the whole life. It is the holy life. In and through and as this one life, there does exist all that is needed to make it whole. to keep it integrated where all parts are expressions of the whole. In and through and as this one life, you can never be disconnected from the qualities of that life presence. We know this life presence to be love. We know this life presence to be creativity. We know this life presence to be vitality. We know this life presence to be transformation and ever changing. We know this life presence to be peace, to be joy. We know this life presence to be abundance, to be flow, to never be stagnant, to never be lacking. We give thanks for this life presence. So we lift up our awareness to the truth of this one life. We align our life, we align our situations, we align ourself with the spirit and the potentiality of this infinite life. And we now begin to see ourselves as the instrument that Jesus spoke of, as the hollow bone the Native Americans speak of, as the divine flow, the sacred chalice. We begin to see ourselves as the way and commit to never be in the way. Now we become a conductor. And it is through the gratitude and acknowledgement of these things that we become an instrument of cause and not a being of reactivity. This week we take time to give thanks for the blessings in our life and to give thanks from the awareness of our true nature. So this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Oh no, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. No, 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 this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. Play it, Richard. This potentiality, the world didn't give it to me. This potentiality, the world didn't give it to me. I know this potentiality, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. The world doesn't give it, and the world can't take it away. It is from this awareness we give thanks. So it is. Thank you, Richard. I want to thank you for joining us today and for joining us through this really unique time that we've been in. If you were here when the beginning of the service started, you saw an announcement where we're putting together holiday service kits, worship kits, celebration kits, whatever you want to call them, but it's your candle for Christmas Eve. It's your white stone ceremony for New Year's Eve. We will be having a New Year's Eve live stream service. What's the burning bowl paper for that? It's your white stone for the first of the year service. So there's a number of things, and if you are local, there are some times that you can come by the church and pick it up. And the 20th, the Sunday before Christmas, we're going to be outside. Our band will be under the carport where we're going to have music, and you can drive by and pick up your kit. If you're around that day, it'll be a lot of fun. But we also want to acknowledge our live streamers, because you are just as much a part of our spiritual community. So if you'll just give us a call or send us an email, we will get a kit in the mail to you in mid-December. So we want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for your generous gifts and your giving as we begin to wrap up our Raise the Roof. We'll be sharing a little bit about that with you in the next week or two, but we were able to, our contingency, this project came in pretty much right, just barely over cost. It was much less contingency than we planned for. So we're able to do a few extra things. We're going to be able to get some new flooring, and there was some lighting put outside, and a new electrical board put in to make things easier for us. And so if you're in a position and want to donate a little extra to our Raise the Roof, what we're calling Finish Strong, we greatly appreciate it. And if not, that's okay too. Just do what each and every one of us can. We'll be sending out a mailing if you're on our list at the 1st of December to give you some real good information on all of that. So I want to share with you, many of you who are, if you're part of this community and if you watch online, you see in the back dancing Ed Daigle. Ed celebrated his 93rd birthday this year, and Ed had some health challenges recently and made his transition. The hospice team said it was one of the most peaceful. Ed has been a meditator for over 40 years and very peacefully danced his way onto the other side. So his wife, Kate, was able to capture Ed not too very long ago dancing a jig on the sidewalk. And so I want to share this with you in honor of one of our beloved members, Ed Daigle. That makes me teary, but it also makes me happy, my friend. Ed also gave the best hugs. Sometimes he would track you down to give you a hug. So Ed, as I know, hugging the angels and loved ones. And Ed, we're going to miss you, my friend. So our love and prayers are going out to the family. Thank you again for being here. We're going to send you off with one final song from Kat and our Unity Band that says, I dreamed of rain, and the rains came. May you know the blessing that you are this week. Happy Thanksgiving.
I dreamed of rain and the rains came, soft and easy, sweet and clear. I dreamed of rain and the rains came, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of summer and the winds changed, when the green rivers are clear. I dreamed of summer and the winds changed, and peace spread over the land. And the flowers bloom in the desert, and the air is fresh and clear. I dreamed of rain and the rain came, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of freedom and the moon rose, and the way was easy and the path was clear. I dreamed of freedom and the moon rose, and peace spread over the land. And the guardian stars are shining, and the night is bright and clear. I dreamed of freedom and the moon rose, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of heaven and the earth sang, and the sound was easy and the song was clear. I dreamed of heaven and the earth sang, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of heaven and the earth sang, and the sound was easy and the song was clear. I dreamed of heaven and the earth sang, and peace spread over the land. And the ancient pain is forgotten, and the Father's debts are clear. I dreamed of heaven and the earth sang, and peace spread over the land. And peace spread over the land. And peace spread over the land.